How's it going, guys, and welcome to my channel. In today's video I will be going over a build I call Volatile Gamble. I recently unlocked all the prismatic fragments and have been playing around with a few builds and I've come up with this fun but very viable build. But before we start, if you find yourself enjoying the video, press that like button, and if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. Now, I have always loved playing as a hunter in Destiny, and now prismatic is here, I love it even more because the two synergize really well. This build is not only really viable, but more importantly, it is fun, especially when you can start getting all the cogs turning. It has a mixture of things all going on at once. It's a melee, ability, and weapon build all rolled into one. It isn't overpowered or broken, but the build itself is simple and effective, plus you don't need to be a top tier player in order to use it. First off, we need to take a look at what makes this build click together, and first up is the abilities. So we've got Withering Blade, which is used to slow and damage targets, creating a debuff. Slow can also be used to stun overload champions and stop them from regenerating health, which is really handy if you're a solo player and want to mix up your weapons because you're not tied down to using solely overload weapons. Because of the way our build is also arranged, which we'll get on later on in the video, we can also grant our weapons anti-barrier rounds as well, which makes Withering Blade really useful. And the grenade we're using is going to be Swarm Grenade. Now, this is a grenade that detonates on impact, releasing multiple drones that seek nearby targets. Each drone slightly scorches affected targets, which can also lead to ignitions as well. And then we're going to move on to our two aspects. Now, these are a vital part of a build because they offer a number of debuffs. And the first one is Stylish Executioner. Now, this will grant us invisibility and true sight when we defeat enemies affected by any elemental debuff. This is where Withering Blade comes in, as you will debuff targets, defeat them, and then get invisibility and true sight. After performing Stylish Executioner, our next melee attack will weaken enemies, which means they take increased damage, have slower movement speed, and can't fire accurately. And the next one is Gunpowder Gamble. So when defeating targets with abilities, elemental debuff damage, or solar weapons, it charges up our meter down here at the bottom left, and when that's full, we can throw a solar explosive that we shoot in midair to cause ignition. Gunpowder Gamble is such a good aspect, and you can put out some really good damage with it as well. You have a few choices to get this charged. You get enemies to low health and use Withering Blades to finish them, or you can use a solar weapon, which is what we'll be using in this build, and each kill will give you a charge. Next up are the all-important fragments, and first on the list is Facet of Bravery. Defeating targets with grenade final blows grants volatile rounds to our void weapons. Volatile rounds from our void weapons will pierce shields of barrier champs and stun them. And then we've got Facet of Dawn. Powered melee hits will make us radiant, and this will also make our weapons anti-barrier. Now, you might be thinking, why are we running these two fragments alongside each other? Because they both give you the same in terms of anti-barrier. But no, radiant will help us in terms of healing us, and volatile rounds are so good on void weapons. And because I'm running Edge Transit, that's why I've got volatile rounds. It's just so good. Plus, having a couple of goes at making your weapons go anti-barrier isn't really a bad thing. And the third on the list is Facet of Ruin. This will increase the area of effect from Gunpowder Gamble because that ignites upon explosion, and that will also allow us to stun unstoppable champions as well. And then we got Facet of Protection. While surrounded by enemies, we are more resistant to incoming damage. Transcendence increases the effect. And Facet of Mending, grenade final blows will cure us. So between our abilities, aspects and fragments, we have survivability, extra damage, and debuffs to enemies that will make them easier to take down, and we also have all of the champions covered with our abilities and debuffs, meaning you have more flexibility with your loadout, and that can't be a bad thing, guys. And as exotic class items are now a thing in the game since Final Shape, I am using one. First up, I've got Spirit of Ophidian, weapons ready very quickly. And then I've got Spirit of Verity. This is the main perk on this cloak. Weapon final blows with a damage type matching our grenade grants stacking grenade damage bonus. This will assist in grenade kills, giving us more Gunpowder Gamble, and because of Facet of Mending, we will be granted Cure, which will restore a set amount of health and shields. This is a great perk for me, especially for this build. It's not a game changer. If you haven't got it, I wouldn't worry. It's just that little bit of extra damage, which is going to help you. And our prismatic grenade is Hellfire Spike, which gives ignition and slow, meaning we can easily deal with enemies and most importantly champs. We've got champs covered with this build, guys. You should have no problem dealing with champs if you're running solo. And in terms of weapons and mods, I am going for the Call. Now this is a rocket assisted sidearm which was added this season, and it sits in our kinetic slot, but it deals strand damage. Now this weapon can be crafted, and I suggest you do get it crafted. Red borders are dropping like crazy this season, and you can focus one red border every reset as well from your ghost over on the Lost City. On mine, I've gone for Demolitionist because I want grenade energy and hatchling. This is because it can seek nearby enemies and either damage them or kill them. And in the energy slot I have Sunshot. I know it's an exotic, but you can swap this out for any solar weapon if you like. Sunshot scorches enemies and fires explosive rounds. By spreading Scorch to enemies, we get that debuff which grants us invisibility and true sight when an enemy is defeated. And our power weapon is Edge Transit. On this I have Chain Reaction and Bait and Switch. This is a great damage dealer, and we will also get anti-barrier due to the Facet of Dawn. But you can mix it up however you like, guys. There are plenty of great weapons to use like Outbreak, Kovostov, Midnight Coupe, even Hung Jury if you want to hang back a bit. And in the energy slot you could have Polaris Lance, Callous Mini Tool, Lunas Howl, Red Death, which will also give you some free healing, No Hesitation, or even Steel Hunt. In the heavy slot you could go for Hammerhead, Fixed Odds, and Dragon's Breath. You don't need to have a solar energy, you can swap it between that and the heavy if you like. And in terms of our mods, we're always going to have Heavy Ammo Finder. I love this. I think it drops heavy ammo bricks quite a lot, so you'll never run out. Next to that, we've got Solar Siphon. So every rapid hit with our solar weapon drops an orb of power. And then we've got Impact Induction, causing damage with a powered melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. Then we've got Solar Loader and Harmonic Loader, so we're going to get a buff to loading for our solar and void weapons there. On our chest, I've just got double solar resist with arc resist. Obviously, you can swap that up however you like in terms of what the damage surge is for a lost sector or whatever else you're going to run. Underneath that on my boots, I've got Solar Weapon Surge. Then I've got Innovation, so we get reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power, and Recuperation, replenishes health each time you pick up an orb of power as well. So you're going to get that health bump on top of having Cure. Underneath that, we've got Font of Restoration, Reaper, and we've got Bomber. So if we look at some of the gameplay now, we can see the build in action. When it comes to anti-barriers and you don't have a weapon equipped that can deal with barrier champs, Withering Blade will come into effect because we have Facet of Dawn on. Our melee hits grant Radiant, which in turn grants us anti-barrier. So you can damage the barrier, hit him with your Withering Blade as he's about to put your shield up, and in this case I get my Edge Transit out and take it down. Quite simple. Same applies for overloads. Throw a Withering Blade and the overload will slow and not regen health, making it simple to take them down. In the Lost Sector here, the Lunas wasn't man enough to finish off the overload, but Withering Blade helped out a bunch. And because we have Stylish Executioner, we will go invisible once we start debuffing enemies, which is great as this will allow us a bit of time to breathe if we need to. And as we get kills with our solar weapon, stacks build up until we get Gunpowder Gamble. If we get a grenade kill, it will instantly give us Gunpowder Gamble. As we have Facet of Ruin on, it will increase the area of effect of Gunpowder, and because it ignites upon explosions, this will also stun unstoppable champs and dishes out some nice damage as well. If you have a lot of ads around as well, Gunpowder Gamble will help you out there as well, and you will also go invis, so it all links together nicely. And with Facet of Mending, we also get Cure on Grenade Final Blows, which will instantly give us health, and Gunpowder Gamble does count as a grenade as well. And as we have Spirit of Verity on our cloak, this gives us stacking on damage bonus. We will get more out of Spike Grenades and Gunpowder Gamble. And guys, that is the end of the video. If you've stuck around up until now, thank you so much. Please consider liking the video as well, because it helps the channel and the video out massively. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button as well. But as always guys, take care, enjoy the final shape, and I'll see you in the next video.